Welcome to Concept with Justin. Welcome back to Concept with Justin. Today, we're zoning in on a landscape feature that consistently delivers a powerful visual punch, the circular raised garden bed. It's a classic for a reason, offering a brilliant solution for creating focal points, managing challenging spots like the base of mature trees, and injecting vibrant color into the landscape. So, why are circular raised garden beds such an enduringly popular and effective landscaping feature? Their appeal lies in a combination of aesthetic charm and practical problem solving. Visually, the circle is a powerful geometric shape. It inherently draws the eye inwards, creating a natural focal point. Unlike angular shapes, a circle feels complete, resolved, and harmonious. There are no sharp corners, lending a softer, more organic feel despite its defined geometry. This makes it incredibly versatile, fitting comfortably within both formal and more relaxed garden styles. Functionally, raising the bed offers numerous advantages. It provides instant elevation change, adding dimension and interest to flat landscapes. This elevation makes the plantings within more visible and prominent, showcasing them more effectively than if they were at ground level. For areas around mature trees, like the one illustrated in our example image, a raised bed offers critical protection. It creates a clear buffer zone, preventing lawnmowers and string trimmers from damaging the vulnerable bark at the tree's base and reducing soil compaction over sensitive surface roots. Furthermore, raised beds allow for soil improvement. You can fill them with high-quality topsoil or a custom planting mix, providing optimal growing conditions, especially if the native soil is poor, compacted, or heavy clay. This controlled soil environment, combined with the elevation, often leads to better drainage, a crucial factor for many plants, including tree roots that resent constantly wet feet. So, the circular raised bed isn't just pretty, it's often a highly practical solution for turning potentially awkward or underutilized spaces into celebrated garden features. The visual character of the wall itself is heavily influenced by the specific block chosen. Manufacturers offer a vast array of styles, textures, and colors. Some blocks have a smooth, contemporary face, while others mimic the rough texture of split natural stone, like the blocks in our example photo appear to have. This texture adds depth and shadow play. Color is another critical decision. While single-color walls are common, using a blend of complementary colors, such as the mix of terracotta/reddish-brown and charcoal/dark gray seen in our example, adds significant visual interest and complexity without appearing chaotic. This color variation can help the structure blend more naturally with surrounding elements or deliberately stand out. The pattern of color mixing, random, alternating, banded, further influences the final look. The height of the wall is also a key design choice. A low wall, perhaps just 1 or 2 courses high, like the 2 courses in the example, likely 8 to 12 inches total, provides clear definition without creating an imposing barrier. Taller walls can create more dramatic elevation changes but require more robust construction techniques, including potential reinforcement or wider bases, to ensure stability. Proper foundation preparation is crucial regardless of height, typically involving excavating a shallow trench, compacting a base layer of gravel, and carefully leveling the first course of blocks. This ensures the wall remains stable and level over time, resisting frost heave and settling. The top course often utilizes specific cap blocks or stones to provide a neat, finished edge, as seen clearly in well-executed examples. Building a raised bed around an existing mature tree, a very common application as illustrated, requires special care to protect the tree's health. The cardinal rule is to avoid significantly burying the tree's root flare, the area where the trunk widens out just above the soil line. Piling deep soil against the trunk can lead to moisture buildup, bark decay, fungal diseases, and potentially suffocate critical surface roots. Ideally, the raised wall should be positioned far enough out from the trunk to leave the root flare exposed, or only very lightly mulched. While our example image shows the planting coming quite close to the visible trunk base, best practice often suggests a wider diameter if possible, or careful management of soil depth near the trunk. Compacting soil over the existing root zone during construction should also be minimized. Using a well-draining, porous soil mix within the raised bed is essential to prevent waterlogging, which established tree roots may not tolerate. And while adding some soil depth is the point of a raised bed, adding more than 6 to 12 inches of new soil over a large portion of a tree's root system can sometimes stress the tree. It's a balance between creating the desired landscape feature and respecting the tree's long-term health needs. Consulting an arborist before undertaking major work around a valuable tree is always advisable. With the structure in place, the planting design becomes the focus, transforming the masonry circle into a vibrant garden feature. One of the most popular and high-impact approaches, perfectly demonstrated in our illustrative example, is the use of flowering annuals. Why annuals? Their primary advantage is their ability to provide continuous, often spectacular, color from late spring or early summer right through until the first frost. Unlike many perennials which have specific, often shorter, bloom periods, annuals are workhorses of the color garden. They allow for a complete refresh each year, offering the flexibility to experiment with different color schemes, plant varieties, and design layouts season after season. The sheer intensity of color achievable with mass plantings of annuals, like the bold red and crisp white rings in the example, is hard to beat for creating an immediate focal point. Popular choices for sunny raised beds often include petunias, vinca, catharanthus roseus, marigolds, zinnias, geraniums, and salvia. For shadier spots created by the tree canopy, impatiens, begonias, coleus, grown for foliage, and taurinia are excellent options. The key is selecting varieties known for their long blooming season, consistent growth habit, and suitability for the specific light conditions within the bed. The planting layout within the circular bed significantly influences its visual impact. A classic and highly effective technique, as exemplified in the photo, is planting in concentric rings or bands of color. This creates a strong sense of order, rhythm, and formality, echoing the circular geometry of the bed itself. In the example, the outermost, widest band is a solid mass of fiery red flowers, likely vinca or possibly petunias. This bold color immediately grabs attention and defines the outer edge of the planting area. Inside this, a narrower ring of bright white flowers provides a sharp, clean contrast. White acts as a brilliant separator, making both the outer red ring and the central foliage appear more distinct and vibrant. This technique of using white as a contrasting border or intermediate band is common in formal bedding schemes. The choice of plants within each ring needs to be consistent in terms of height and growth habit to maintain the clarity of the circular pattern. Plants should be spaced appropriately, close enough to fill in quickly and create a dense mass of color, but not so close as to cause overcrowding and poor air circulation later in the season. This requires understanding the mature size of the chosen annual varieties. At the very center of the planting scheme, especially in a tree ring bed, it's crucial to have a strong anchor element. Often referred to as the thriller in container design principles, which closely apply here, this central plant provides height, structure, and a focal point within the planting itself. In our example, a large, lush hosta perfectly fulfills this role. Its broad green leaves offer a grounding presence and a significant textural contrast to the finer petals and leaves of the surrounding annuals. It occupies the space around the tree trunk effectively, and its mounding form provides a pleasing central mass. The choice of a foliage plant like hosta ensures visual interest even if surrounding flowers temporarily lag in bloom. Other potential centerpiece plants could include ornamental grasses, ferns, especially for shade, cannas with their dramatic leaves and flowers, or even a small, well-behaved shrub if space permits and maintenance allows. The key is that the central element should have sufficient scale and presence to balance the surrounding rings of color and relate visually to the central tree trunk. No planting bed is truly complete without the finishing touch of mulch. As clearly visible in the example, a layer of dark organic mulch covers the soil surface between the plants. This is far more than just decoration. Aesthetically, the dark color, often dark brown or black, provides a uniform, tidy background that makes the colors of the flowers and foliage pop. It suppresses weeds visually and creates a cohesive look across the entire bed. Functionally, mulch is indispensable. It conserves soil moisture by reducing evaporation from the soil surface, critical in raised beds which tend to dry out faster, and vital for the health of both the annuals and the tree roots. It significantly inhibits weed germination and growth, drastically cutting down on maintenance chores. Mulch also helps moderate soil temperature, insulating roots from baking heat in summer and potentially damaging cold in winter. As organic mulches like shredded bark or wood chips decompose, they slowly add organic matter to the soil, improving its structure over time. Applying a consistent layer, typically 2 to 3 inches deep, being careful not to pile it directly against plant stems or the tree trunk, is essential for reaping these benefits and achieving that polished, professional look that signifies a well-cared-for garden. Looking at this circular raised bed through the lens of design principles helps us understand why it works so well. Emphasis is clearly achieved. The bed is undeniably the star of its immediate area. The strong geometry of the circle provides inherent order and visual stability. Contrast is employed powerfully through color, red versus white versus green, dark mulch versus bright flowers, texture, rough wall versus smooth petals, coarse bark versus fine mulch, and form, circular bed versus vertical tree trunk. Rhythm is created by the concentric rings of planting and potentially the alternating colors in the wall blocks. Balance is achieved through the radial symmetry of the design. Scale seems appropriate, with the bed size relating well to the tree and surrounding space. Unity is created by containing the composition within the defined circular wall and using consistent elements within. This feature isn't just a random collection of parts. It's a unified composition where hardscape and softscape work together purposefully to create a single, impactful statement.